I think it's Tellez.
Oh, I've been saying. I'm
pretty sure it's Tejas. If he's Latin?
He's a gringo. He's like half.
No,
I think he's half Mexican.
But I thought
if he's Mexican, it's Tejas.
I think that I'm maybe the way that we're all saying it. We got to ask Rowdy.
Yeah, we got to ask him.
I know he was on
I've only ever known it as Rowdy Tellez.
Well, I've only ever known him as Curtis Rogers. If anyone wants to know what Curtis Rogers looks like, look at Rowdy
we do
Tellez.
have quite the similarities.
What doesn't Willa call him when he's on the screen? She says, "It's Dad."
Yeah, she thought he was me last season, and now she's going to be seeing him on our TV screen every day.
Now, Rowdy was on Foul Territory. I chose to say Rowdy on purpose. Was on Foul Territory. Earlier today, a fun interview. He talked about being pulled over on his way to spring training with the Mariners, and he had deer meat in the back seat, and he started to ask the cop, I have some deer meat if you want some, and then had to clarify, I'm not bribing you. I just happen to have a lot. But did not get a ticket, so maybe it worked. I don't know. But he said during this interview, I don't know if I've made it yet. It was like at 8 or 9 a.m. this morning. I don't know if I've made it yet, but Bump, I think both you and I and everyone else can look at the roster, look at these moves, and go, he's made the roster.
Yeah, and you hear the way Dan talks about him. He likes the way he handled himself at first base, and that gives Luke flexibility as well. He seems like a good fit, and all spring, I've been tapering my expectations with any type of performance, whether it be good or bad. But as of late, Polanco goes yard. You see Cal go yard. Rowdy is doing his thing as well.
See, I don't want to sound.
Yeah, now I don't want to jack it up.
Well, no, I'm just going to sound ridiculous.
It's just Rowdy now. Until we get confirmation, it's Rowdy. But yeah, you're listening to the podcast or a podcast before our show doing some research, and you listen to him talk. He dances around being on the roster. I've dealt with guys who are in that position before. You don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but it looks like he's going to be on this roster, and I'm happy for him, man. And this just proves that what you do matters, right? Your preparation, your performance at some point, it all matters. And when you look at this team, you want this type of competition. It is healthy. So I'm happy for the guy. I'm just going to go out there and say it. He's probably on the roster, and he pushed a veteran out, which is hard to do.
Yeah. Let's see. You have Leo Rivas was optioned to AAA Tacoma among a couple other moves. Ryan Divish writing that it probably means Ryan Bliss has made the team. We talked about Ryan Bliss and have asked about Ryan Bliss earlier, going from, hey, it's Dylan Moore's job to lose, to, yeah, Dylan Moore gives you less of a defensive liability, but Ryan Bliss is having a better spring overall.
Yeah. Again, competition. You want to see it. And what I appreciate about Rowdy and Ryan Bliss is that they were on our radar, but no one really expected anything to happen. You expected Demo to be the guy. You expected Mitch to be in that DH spot. But I like this approach by Dan, and it's not just Dan, right? It's the people upstairs, it's Edgar, it's Hollander, it's everyone involved, and they are not afraid to try something new. And it's probably not what everyone expected. You wanted them to go and get a bat and make this splash and this noise, but you got to take what you can from this organization. And at this point, I'm not mad at them. Bliss, go ahead and make the squad. Get some reps at second base. You have Rowdy, go ahead and make the squad. You get some reps. Maybe you tap back into that 35 home run year you had a couple years back. I just love competition, and I like that I'm looking at the roster and just seeing new names out there. And I think that's what most people wanted. You wanted bigger names, obviously, but you take what you can get.
Someone said, can we please have a real DH? Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. That's the goal. Who's filling that role? Curtis, when you look at the primary candidate to be your DH, I mean, don't forget, was it last offseason or this offseason before when Jerry said we want a thumper who thumps? Finally realized,
a banger who bangs.
A banger who bangs, a masher who mashes.
Yeah.
We really should get a DH who DHs effectively. Who are the names candidacy for that one?
Well, right now, I mean, Rowdy Tellez is probably the leader in the clubhouse because, I mean, if you look at me and you look at him, we're, similar build. We're not doing much else other than first base DH.
I think you should take credit. In fact, every single time Rowdy does anything, you should be like,
we can personally pretend to do post-game media scrums. I'll just talk for him. Luke Raley, he can play DH a little bit. I saw Dom Canzone got sent down yesterday. That was another guy who potentially could have been in there. But yeah, I mean, they like to kind of rotate it through, but Tellez does fit the build of what a classic DH looks like. Mitch Garver, I think, is another guy too. That's what he was brought to do, but he's kind of in that backup catcher role right now.
Yeah, going to be a really, to your point, Bump, it's most of the team that you expected it to be with a few random tweaks. And the hope is that maybe you get a surprise from those guys. But ultimately, we're all looking at the same people.
Yeah,
hey, Julio, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Hey, JP, are you going to bounce back?
Mm-hmm.
And for that matter, Curtis mentions Garver. Hey, Garver, are you going to be the hitter that Seattle thought they signed? To be that kind of, I think that expecting him to be a middle of the order bat was a little much. But, are you going to be able to, hit fourth, fifth, whatever it is, and have a bounce back season?
Yeah, it all comes back to familiar names, and those are the names that it should come back to. Those are the guys who have proven over the past few years, or even though if they had an off year last year, but have a history of playing some decent ball. Me, once again, I'm always going to, obviously Julio's going to lead the charge, but I'm looking at JP, and you desperately need that leadoff bat again. That guy with the great eye who can get on, play solid defense. He's like one of the glue guys. There are some role players in the game. I was talking to my son, Kobe, and on his basketball team, he's like a role player. And I'm talking to him about his role. And I'm telling him, I say, man, when you get the ball, we're swinging it. We're getting the defense to move. We're going to move. And sooner or later, you're going to get butt naked, wide open, and you're going to have an open shot. And you make sure you hit that thing. That's kind of the way I see this. It's like, okay, Julio, go ahead and ball out. Cal, hit your bombs. Randy, do your thing. And boom, sprinkling a little bliss every now and then.
Yeah.
You can't expect these guys to be in the forefront of this thing, but they're going to have to contribute. This is a Major League Baseball team. Again, I just like the new names, and I like competition, man. That means that what you do actually matters.
Yeah. Before I move on to our second story of this open, Curtis, the 425, among some others on the Mac and Jacks text line, happy you're back. We had some fun conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So what Curtis was doing is taking a nice family vacation. You and the girls, went to, what was it?
Great Wolf Lodge.
Great Wolf Lodge. And it was, yeah.
That sounds like a dad who's like, man, I'm glad that was over, man.
Just echoing through the halls of that place.
Oh, are you going to have nightmares about a week at a water park?
My bank account is having.
Can you still smell chlorine right now? Just like
your eyes burning?
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, if I have to watch Bluey one more time, I'm going to explode.
No, it's a good time, though.
Listeners, happy that you're back, Curtis. Time for our next story here. AL Manager of the Year odds for 2025. Now, I'm kind of spoiling it by making it a story, but Bump, if you were to guess prior to seeing the list, who would be the leader for AL Manager of the Year odds, you'd guess.
I wouldn't guess who it is.
Kevin Cash.
That's for sure.
Maybe it's Alex Cora. No. It's Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson, the odds-on favorite for AL Manager of the Year. AJ Hinch, obviously not of the AL. The leader there, or no, is he second? No,
the co-leaders.
Co-leaders. Okay, I read these. I was like, wait, he is though. Oh, the same odds. I get it. That's why they're neck and neck. Yeah, it's Dan Wilson at the forefront, and It's not that I am not optimistic about what Dan Wilson can do. It's that I'm surprised nationally that odds makers or bettors are optimistic about the Mariners having, presumably, if you're winning Manager of the Year, a much better season than they did last.
They are like, Curtis, you have kids, right? And
yeah,
we see the worst of our kids.
Yes.
Like, we see the worst. We see when they're little, when they don't want to go to sleep and they don't want to listen. And then they go out in public and people are like, your kids are so sweet. They're so well behaved and they're this and that.
You don't know the half.
And I'm like, you should have seen her at 5 p.m. today. Like, it's a totally different story.
Great kids.
Right? Of course we have great kids, but when you're around people a lot, you get to see every side of them. So this is the way I look at this situation here, is that we are the parents of the Mariners. We see everything. We hear everything. We are super critical because this is our team, to whereas people on the outside view them a bit differently.
Sure.
They're looking at Julio and saying he's due for a bounce back year. They're looking at this rotation where I think we can all agree on this one, that they have the best rotation in the game.
Yeah.
They're looking at maybe Polanco's knee getting better and rocking it at third base. They're more optimistic because they have like the 30,000 foot view. Whereas us, we're in the trenches with these kids, all right? We're changing diapers. We're telling them to clean their room. They're forcing them to eat vegetables. It's different
They're
for us.
yelling at you.
Yeah, we're going back and forth. It's different. So I can appreciate that because every now and then, even as a parent, right, you're reminded sometimes like, I do have good kids.
Sure.
They are well behaved. So it's nice when we get the national perspective at times, and they remind you, look, it hasn't worked out the way that you wanted to the last few years, but you got some pieces over there that could make some noise.
I'm really interested in what I think Dan Wilson's kind of main goal is this year. I saw, one of the things that we listened to last week, was the idea that, it was hard for players to separate. I think it was Morosi. It was hard for players to separate service from Dipoto. If they were upset with Dipoto, which they were for a number of reasons. A big breaking point being the Graveman trade, but that ultimately it just became an issue for a couple different people. Maybe the best thing Wilson can do is endear himself to players and make him think I'm on your side. I'm not sure what his task is going to be this season.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's we know the role of a manager in Major League Baseball isn't like the head coach for in the NFL, an offensive coordinator. It's just a bit different. It's really managing emotions and doing your best to configure a lineup every single day that matches with the data upstairs. You're like a middleman. So what's his approach and how it's going to be different?
Yeah.
Stacy, before we move on, I want to thank everybody. Everyone who supported me through all these years and everyone who hated on me as well, especially the haters. Love you the most. Your boy won his first ever championship. I didn't do it by myself. I had a teammate, Jace Wiley, Jace Wiley Construction. And,
Matt.
it started off rough. My first drive, I snapped it to the left, but I fought back. Par 5, it went right down the pipe. And then from then on, I told myself, listen, today's going to be your day. And thank you, everybody on the text lines, for supporting your boy. But let me tell you the truth. I left the golf course, and I thought we didn't win because I had to leave early. Then my boy calls me. He goes, hey, man, we got first place.
Wow.
And I said, what did we win? He said, $100 at the gift shop. Woo! Let's go. I'm going to get me about some Strixon golf balls.
Yeah.
And, it feels good, man. I appreciate everyone who hated on me my whole life.
Shrimp skin.
And I what did I do?
You ripped the tee off the sledgeway.
I ripped the tee off the sledgeway. That's what I did. Thank you, guys. Snohomish Golf Course. Appreciate you.
I'm going to start talking about ripping the tee off the sledgeway. And just let me tell you what, that's when you know that you are going to get a par. You could get a par 7.
Yeah, we got the Masters coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's why I did it. I did it for Tiger, honestly.
Oh, that's a really good point. Thank you so much for doing that. Matt, you can stop the music now. Opening day is almost here, and we are sending one of you and a friend to experience it like never before. Imagine getting front row access to the opening ceremonies, player intros, the first pitch, and so much more, all from the field. To enter, all you need to do is open the Seattle Sports app and click the Win tab to find out how. If you don't already have the app, just text the word app, APP, to 866-979-3776, and we will send you a link to download. Enter daily to increase your chances to win. This contest runs through Friday, March 21st. By the way, there are still tickets available for opening day, so if you haven't bought yours, there's still time. Let's get to Headline Rewrites.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Headline Rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
Headline number 1, Aaron Rodgers reportedly spent 6 hours visiting with the Steelers on Friday. What's the real headline?
Any second longer, and that would have counted as an official darkness retreat. With
That's
the 6 hours with the Steelers.
What are you talking about? For 6 hours?
Did you go to an actual steeling mill? Did you guys go to the mines to work? Yeah.
No, 6 hours is a lot, man. But we've heard of head coaching interviews lasting about this long. So I don't think it sits consecutive. Obviously you leave, you eat or something, and maybe you're moving together. You're hopping in the car, let's go to this restaurant. You're really getting to know a potential employee. And I think that's important, especially with Aaron Rodgers. If I'm sitting down with Aaron Rodgers, man, we're going through everything. I don't want to leave nothing. No questions. You ask me anything. Ask me about my life. Ask me about the organization, the restrooms, whatever you need to know to make sure this thing runs smoothly with Aaron Rodgers, you have to do it. But we're expecting this to go down. They have no other option, really.
They don't. I mean, Aaron has no other option to sign somewhere and start, and not only start, but be like the year-long starter, right? Because the Giants, the Browns, a couple other teams are in a place where you anticipate that they're going to bring in their backup, or they already have them, like the Minnesota Vikings, already reportedly off the table for Rodgers. To me, the only way this makes sense is if it's between Rodgers signing with the Steelers or deciding to walk away entirely.
Right.
That's the only way this makes sense, because there's no other landing spot that makes sense for him unless he's hoping that someone gets hurt and then he can go in. But you can't hope for that. Like, yeah, someone will inevitably get hurt, but you have no idea where that's going to be. You have no idea what that injury is going to be. You have no idea if it's going to be a starting quarterback that they actually want you. Like, I just think that, to me, it has to be between mulling retirement and signing with the Steelers.
No, a guy like Aaron Rodgers doesn't go home and wait for guys to get injured. Those are for guys who are on the bubble, who are just good enough to possibly be on the roster, but you're not really sure. A guy like Aaron Rodgers, he has influence. Despite what you think about him, he has influence, and obviously the Steelers are interested in him. I expect this to get done soon, so DK and him can get connected.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 2, for the first time ever, no mid-majors made it to the Sweet 16 and only one double-digit seed. Number 10, Arkansas, is still alive. What's the real headline?
Can we blame NIL for this one, too? We are talking about this at 10:45, by the way.
You could, but I think Curtis pointed it out during the show. It's realignment, right? Because you got teams that have moved around who aren't considered mid-majors anymore. But Drake was a good run. They lost to Texas Tech. They beat Mizzou. McNeese was a great one. If you guys haven't looked up McNeese and their manager, who now has an NIL deal, that was awesome. That was fun. They lost to Purdue, but beat Clemson. Colorado State lost a close one, a little buzzer beater. Freshman, I think it's like a power forward to the left off the glass to win that thing. And then New Mexico State, New Mexico lost to Michigan State. Yeah, these are the things that we're used to. We're used to hearing these names in the Sweet 16, at least one or two of them. So there's a lot that you can blame. It could be realignment. It could be NIL, whole bunch of stuff. But the thing that makes the tournament special, we kind of lost a little bit of it this year.
Headline rewrites.
Headline 3, Jameis Winston is signing a 2-year deal with the Giants to compete for their starting quarterback job. What's the real headline?
What's it say about Russell Wilson when it's Cleveland or bust at this point?
He's down. Like, he's not down because he lives a good life. He's made a lot of money. He has a wife and kids. Like, in real life, he's good. But this comes for almost every football player. At some point, you aren't valued the way you used to be. The league looks at you differently. Either they kick you out or they tell you you're not good enough to be a starter. You're going to be a backup. I wonder just the mental gymnastics that this guy is doing with himself right now, because we know Russell Wilson is probably one of the most positive people in the world. Even if it's fake or not, he convinces himself that everything's going to be okay. So he's got to lean on that. He's got to lean on that faith right now. He's got to lean on that mental toughness, because it's just not looking good. When you're not wanted, that is a lonely feeling out there. I've been there before, man. I've been cut from a team, waiting to see if I'm going to get a call, and you never get that call. He's going to get a call. He's just not used to being in the position that he's in.
Am I crazy in wondering why other teams don't see some potential lingering with Russell Wilson? I mean, I know that Russell Wilson, when he picked up that role, after getting healthy again, coming back from that calf injury, kind of starts out not hot, but where we're like, ooh, like maybe Russ still has some of it. And then the Steelers kind of cool, and what kind of gets them to the playoffs ultimately is their defense. But still, the only quarterback of all of these guys, Jameis Winston, Aaron Rodgers, to appear in the postseason this year, and younger than Rodgers. Like, I guess I'm just confused as to why the rest of the league seems to think there's nothing left with Wilson, when I look, I go, I don't know, man, I see worse backups. I do.
I don't know, because you're right. He looked good for a stint, but then just the way he ended the season, man, with 4 or 5 straight losses. And I didn't watch too many of the Pittsburgh Steelers games, honestly, maybe a few this year to watch more of the highlights, but there's something on film that people just aren't clicking with. And whatever that is hurting him. But he'll be a backup if he wants to be. That's the question. Do you want to be a backup? Because I feel like guys like Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, even though they're on different playing fields when it comes to legacy, you have that ego about you.
Sure.
You never thought you'd be in this position. So whatever Russ wants to do, he'll do it, but I don't see him being a starter next year.
Now, do you see Rodgers contributing to the Steelers? The 425 says, Rodgers has been, all caps, horrible. Is it just the name? If Pittsburgh signs him, he will end Tomlin's tenure.
He hasn't been horrible. Last year, he actually ended the season pretty good. His second half of the season was good. You look at his numbers when it comes to at least total yardage, he's top 10 in the NFL. He's better than most. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that I can think of in this league who struggle. It's because of his name, obviously. I think that holds a lot of weight, but he played okay last year. He played better than Russell Wilson that second half of the season.
I'm worried that I'm going to lose this bet before it starts. I need Russ to go to Cleveland bad. Coming up at 10:45, is NIL the death of Cinderella stories in the NCAA tourney? Before we get to that, though, Field Yates was on with Brock and Salk talking about the Seahawks draft plans. Don't go anywhere.
Fourth down territory. Going inside the game with former Cougs and Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
What do you love about the Uchenna Nwosu signing?
I just love that he gave the team a team-friendly deal. And let's not forget, when he's healthy, my man had 10 sacks, right? He played over 900 snaps for the Seahawks that year. He was healthy, only 12 games after that. But when he is healthy, he's volleying on the edge. You can run some stunts with him and DeMarcus or whoever else is in there. This is a great signing. You need his leadership, his intensity. It's going to be nice.
Fourth down territory. Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bump and Stacy.
Hey, Brock Ewart here with my buddy Dave Taylor from First Mark Insurance. So glad, so thankful that Molly and I made the call. Had heard so many First Mark Challenge victories, we needed to take that challenge. What does happen from your perspective when that caller, when that email, when that person reaches out to you for a First Mark Challenge victory?
That's a great question. So there's several steps we go through in the process. The first step is we're going to gather information, find out all we can about that client and what their needs are. The next step is we will go out to the market. We have dozens and dozens of carriers that will compete for the business. At the end of that process, we will then bring those findings back to the customer, show them what we found, and who the eventual winner was in that competition.
And it may be who they're with.
It might be, yes. And sometimes that's the best we can do is recommend they stay where they are, but maybe modify a few coverages to put them in a better position.
So go take that challenge today. Go be the next First Mark Challenge victory. It costs you nothing, and they will be there with you every step of the way. FirstMarkInsurance.com. FirstMarkInsurance.com.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed the musty smell in your home? I hope not, because damp smells mean that you could have a crawl space problem. That's where Groundworks comes in. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to waterproof your crawl space and get to the root cause of the problem. Schedule your free inspection at groundworks.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Pro Savings Days are back at Lowe's with limited time savings on the supplies pros need. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, save an additional $100 on every $1,000 you spend on select major appliances. And don't miss your chance to activate and earn 3 times the points on select DeWalt and Klein tools. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/28. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Associate or Lowe's.com for more details on qualifying items.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like frames. Because you found a classic 70s concert poster. But when you went to get it framed, you realized the frame will cost about 4 times the amount of the poster. Which is actually absurd because no one will be looking at the frame, and if they are, then you severely overestimated how cool this poster is. But then you remember by switching your home and auto to Progressive, you could save hundreds and put it towards a classic 70s concert poster in an absurdly overpriced frame. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new TV? That's a lot of time in front of one TV. So why not get one of the best sets for the next 7 years, like one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony models? Too expensive? What if you could get up to $1,000 trade-in for your old set? Who would do a stupid deal like this? Right now, at Video Only, you can get big bucks for your old set as a trade-in and a hot price on the new models. Don't be sorry. Check out Video Only.
We know choosing the right team to upgrade your windows and doors is a big decision. That's why we deliver a service that treats your home like ours and offer top quality products. Our windows are up to 25% more energy efficient than Energy Star standards, reduce noise by up to 50%, and have low maintenance clean glass technology. Our industry-leading leak armor installation and lifetime warranties mean peace of mind and enjoyment for life. Lake Washington Windows and Doors, a name you can trust. Visit lakewashingtonwindows.com.
You've heard the saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Since 1926, my family's been helping local businesses make great first, second, and long-term impressions. We know how to make your company look good with quality uniforms, logoed apparel, floor mats, linens, and more. If you're paying for linen service or doing it yourself, let's have the conversation. The information and quote are free, but the savings and service can really add up. Visit suplinen.com. Superior Linen Service. It's what we do.
Bracket busted? Don't worry, Madness Maniacs, you still have a shot at winning. Head to seattlesports.com/win to fill out your 16-team bracket. It's not too late to join in on the fun. It's the Seattle Sports Bracket Bucks presented by Muckleshoot Casino Resort. And the winner of the 16-team competition will win a $500 Visa gift card. Register and find complete rules at seattlesports.com/win. Seattle Sports Bracket Bucks presented by Muckleshoot Casino.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Coming up in 15 minutes, is NIL the death of Cinderella stories in the NCAA? Some eye-opening stats. One thing happening for the first time since 2007. Another for the first time ever that we're seeing in the men's bracket. So we'll get to that in 15. Before we do, let's talk Seahawks. Let's talk draft. Field Yates was on with Brock and Salk this morning talking about the Seahawks draft plans. We will start with the number one area of concern lingering bump for fans, that being the offensive line.
I don't know about changing the entire offensive line, but I think you can do so. You can hit 40 to 60%. I mean, 2 or 3 starters, which I think Seattle needs probably at least 2 or 3 starters along the offensive line. I think we feel good about, we've got a tackle that we feel good about. And that's the most important thing, is having a left tackle that I think you're going into the draft with the mindset that, like, this is our guy still. That, to me, is the most important part of an offensive line. It's a stylistic shift, obviously. It's, you're going to hear so much about these zone scheme offensive linemen playing for Clint Kubiak. You're going to prioritize athletic ability, perhaps even versatility more so than guys who have this hulking power.
Bump, there are kind of 2 things here that I want to talk about with you. The first is how much of the offensive line you can actually be expected to fix in one offseason. Field Yates says, look, you're not going to fix the entire offensive line, but can you find another starter, maybe another offensive starter? If you do, if you can find 2 good contributors somewhere for this offensive line, you've still got Charles Cross, and with a healthy Abe Lucas, you've got a good portion of the line that can take a step forward. The second part of it I'll save, but your reaction first to Field saying you're not going to fix all of it, but you can make progress.
No, he's right. And he said 2 to 3. I mean, 2, okay. 3?
2 to 3 is a lot.
I mean, we start talking 3. I mean, what about Olu?
At that point, you
piece.
fix the whole offensive line.
Exactly. I think Olu keeps getting overlooked in this situation. Because when he says 2 to 3, obviously he's talking center and the guard positions. I think Olu can hold down that center position, give him time to develop, and then you can grab yourself one of these young guys and hope they develop as well. No, that has to be the strategy with this offensive line. There are only a few positions to where you can get like 3 or 4 new guys right now and be ready to go, and it's the skill position. You can get 3 receivers and feel great about it. You can get 3 DBs and feel good about it. This offensive line is so hard, man, because there's so much chemistry and continuity that needs to go down with that, and it has to be the right mix. And then he talks about just the scheme. Because of this Kubiak offense, what we think we're going to see, analysts and experts are saying that you don't necessarily need just the biggest, baddest, toughest dude on that offensive line. You can work with a smaller guys like a Chris Haynes or someone like that because you're going to ask them to be a bit more fluid when they run that outside zone or whatnot. Yeah, it can be done, but it's hard. If it was easy, we wouldn't be having these conversations every year about this offensive line group.
The second part is that question about scheme. He mentions, hey, you're going to hear some people talk about, oh, in this wide zone, this outside zone, you need this guy and that guy. Maybe these traits are prioritized. How much of an impact does Kubiak and his scheme actually have on the kind of guys? Because this is a team that's just bereft of offensive line talent. You know what I mean? And keep in mind that we had Ray on the other day going, I don't know what stats people are looking at, but if you're an offensive lineman, you just have to know how to do these things no matter what.
Yeah. If you're an offensive lineman, there are only about 5 runs in football. You got your inside zone, your outside zone, your trap, your counter, your power, and then variations of that, right? Pin and pull and that zone type stuff. You're going to have to be able to do all of that stuff. You're not just going to watch a Seahawks game and never see a guard pull. You're not going to watch a Seahawks game and never see a guard in a tackle pull left and everyone goes right and you're setting up counter. But there's stuff that you lean on, and he's going to lean on the zone. And how much can that help a player? If I were in today's NFL in my prime, I would have done so much better than I did back in my day in 2008, 2009, just because the game is different. Like the game now suits who I was back then more than back then. And that's how you got to look at this offensive line and this scheme, is that because you are asking your linemen to stretch the field horizontally, it wouldn't fit like a guy like, let's say, Big Ray. Big Ray can run outside zone for sure, but I guarantee you Big Ray loves the pin and the pull more. Why? Because that fool's like 6'7", you know,
he was
like
right for his time,
like 300 pounds. It just fits his body type better. So when I look at the personnel that is here, there is a chance that naturally this offensive line looks better just because of the scheme that they're in, but nothing's guaranteed. You still got to develop.
All right, let's get to Field Yates' next point. His biggest takeaways from his most recent mock.
The summary of this year's mock draft, if I had to make it a short summary, would be two things. One, variance in how people see players that are first-round locks this year. What I mean by that is there are guys who I have heard from some people around the NFL that are top 10 locks, and others who are convinced they are borderline round one players at all. So guys who might go 10, they might go 27. The other part of the summary, I think, is it's a better year to have picks, let's call it 70 to 120, than it is 1 through 12 relative to where it would be on average.
I thought that was very interesting. What do you think?
I think that I didn't hear that last part. Can you do like the last 5 seconds? Last 10?
Yeah, I'll just summarize, because I don't know how to fast forward this. Basically, he says that it may be a year where it's better to have picks, let's say 70 through 110 than it is 1 through 12.
Yeah. And so there's so much pressure with those early picks. There's pressure you got to hit. And your mistakes are amplified when you have picks 1 through 10, 11, 12, and it doesn't work out. Like, imagine the Cam Ward pick. Everyone is expecting Tennessee to take Cam Ward with that number 1 pick. And if it doesn't work out, years from now, or maybe even a year or two from now, we're going to look back and say, man, they probably should have went with this pick. To whereas those picks later on in the draft, they kind of get muddled a bit. You know, you don't really pay attention to them. That's when you've already had your family over and everyone's kind of clocked out and they're just eating and drinking beer now, not really paying attention to the draft anymore because all of the bigger names are out. So I think every year is an advantage to have a bunch of those picks because there's less pressure and there's less expectation. With those top picks, it's hard. And then we talk about just the talent that's in this draft. Last year's draft was more talented overall. I would say at every position other than probably running back, that draft class was just more talented. So you feel like you have a better opportunity to hit. I don't have that same feeling with this draft class. There's some ballers out there. Let's not get it twisted. But last year it felt like you can't go wrong with like 12 to 15 guys. This year, I'm looking at this situation and thinking, all right, what's best for that team, and can they develop and can they hit? It's a gamble every year, but I think the consistency across the country is that, you know, it always starts with the quarterback. That's kind of like the measuring stick, right? The barometer. You look at the quarterbacks and say, how good are those guys? Because we start there, and I think it trickles on down. Yeah, it's a lot harder to be picked 1 through 12 this year.
Here's more from Field on how the Seahawks season ended and a massive decision they had to make.
I don't think anybody at the end of this upcoming year, because we don't give these things multiple years, I don't think anybody at the end of this upcoming year is going to say, it worked out fine. It's going to be either it was brilliant, it was a masterstroke, we all should have, put more trust and faith into the process, or everybody is going to say, why the heck did we get rid of DK Metcalf and Geno Smith? That was the dumbest thing we've ever done. So, I probably am cut from a cloth where I tend to give deference to the teams because these moves aren't made, I would say, just sort of willy-nilly. But it's a big bet on Sam Darnold, and we'll see on that pick from Pittsburgh. It's a big bet. It takes some stones, that's for sure.
I love Field Yates. I think he's brilliant. I do think that, and I know because I'm in sports radio, sometimes it's like a sports radio we take to say this will either be good or horrible. And we will know one or the other in 9 months or 10 months. I do think there's a world where this ends up being kind of the same season we always saw, where Sam Darnold is fine. Maybe some weapons on offense are great, but maybe the offensive line struggles. You can't get the run game going. Like, I think there's a world where we end up saying a lot of the same things that we've always said, and we're like, well, let's wait and see on Sam. Let's wait and see on some of these pieces. However, what I like that he says is there is a world where you go, oh my God, what were they doing? Like, there is a gamble that John made.
And there's also some fine print that is guaranteed to be lost by a lot of people. Geno wanted out. DK wanted out.
Yes.
Like, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to force them to be here? So
right.
it could go bad. And you could look back and say exactly what you said. What the heck were they doing? But then under that, it needs to be written. Geno and DK did not want to be here, and they're not going to force somebody
Very
to play for them
to note.
if they don't want to be here. So, yeah, it's all good.
Is NIL the death of Cinderella stories in the NCAA tourney? That's next.
We are the home of the Mariners.
Big news, by God. We're excited to announce a multi-year partnership extension between the Seattle Mariners and Seattle Sports / Bonneville Seattle. So all Mariner games will continue to be heard on our platforms, including 7:10 a.m. The legend that is Rick Riz.
We couldn't be happier on behalf of the Seattle Mariners. We love the fact that we're going to be back on 710 Seattle Sports. Thank you so much. We're thrilled.
On Seattle Sports
and the Seattle Sports app.
Are you looking at diversification and stability with your investment portfolio, especially with the volatility right now in the stock market? Hi, I'm Scott Rierecka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We've been running local real estate investment funds for over 18 years. We've had 0 investor losses and have averaged double-digit returns since inception. Maybe it's time to take a little risk off the table given market conditions. For stability, there's no better option than Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, a fixed return of 9%. Legacy's Northwest Fund also accepts IRA accounts as well. Find out why over 1,000 local investors have invested over $250 million in our Legacy family of funds. Get in touch with us today. Legacy's Northwest Fund, returning 9%, has limited opening for new investors right now.
Call 425-635-4700 or visit LegacyG.com. That's LegacyG.com. This is not investment advice. Legacy investments available to accredited investors only. Details at LegacyG.com.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Hey, Bill! Got a leak? Need heat?
Call Southwest today.
Southwest Plumbing, the one to call.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
The American Band, the legendary Grand Funk Railroad, is rolling into Muckleshoot Event Center Wednesday, August 6th with special guest Jefferson Starship. Don't miss this night of classic rock that defined a generation. Get tickets now at muckleshootcasino.com. Grand Funk Railroad with special guest Jefferson Starship. Only at Muckleshoot Casino Resort.
This is Matt Coker from West Coast Men's Health. Has Viagra stopped working for you? Do you hate the side effects? If you've taken Viagra for any length of time, you already know that pills are not the solution to ED. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we have a better approach to ED. Acoustic wave therapy creates blood flow circulation by safely removing the plaque in your arteries and restoring function naturally. No pills, no shots, no surgery. We can also treat Peyronie's disease. Our non-invasive treatment for ED is painless and highly effective. We have treated thousands of men just like you. Stop living with this problem and do something about it. Do yourself a favor, do your partner a favor, and call us today.
Call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com. HSA cards welcome and financing available.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
For the first time since 2007, the Sweet 16 will have no team seeded number 11 or higher. This obviously in the men's bracket. From Chris Vanini, this is the first time in NCAA history, in tournament history, the Sweet 16 is only made up of power conference teams. Is this because of NIL deals or something else? No Cinderellas in the Sweet 16. That's what we're talking about right now. This is what Jay Williams had to say on Get Up.
I think my biggest takeaway of everything over the weekend was that NIL is the death of mid-major Cinderella runs. And I think it still can happen, but I think it's going to be more of a rarity.
Because?
Well, this could be more of a rarity due to the fact that I think now we're going to see a lot of players that are playing for the Colorado States, that are playing for the McNeeses, that are playing for the Drakes, that are going to get poached by mid-level Power 4, Power 5 conferences, right? And you're going to see teams in the middle of the pack of the Big 10, the middle of the pack of the Big 12, see these players and say, hey, we'll give you 4X, we'll give you 5X what you're earning at your mid-major conference. And when I talk to mid-major coaches, the consistent complaint I always hear from them is retention. We can't hold on to players because these Power 4 schools are just clipping them and taking them away from us. And that's why I think you're seeing chalk as much as you're seeing right now as we get to the Sweet 16. You're not seeing any mid-major left. You're going to see the big boys, and I think that's going to be the case moving forward.
NIL is killing off Cinderella stories by poaching the best talent from the mid-majors. That's Jay Williams' argument. Is he right, Bump?
I think that is an element for sure. If you're not able to pay these players, why are they going to go to your university? And then as soon as they ball out, they're going to get snatched anyway. So I went back and I looked at some of the greatest runs and imagined what if their best player wasn't on that team. 1990, you got Loyola Marymount. They had a guy on that team, Bo Kimball, who was averaging 35 points a game.
He's gone.
They got to the Elite Eight. He's gone after that year, right? We're not seeing that. And Loyola is a school that goes up and down when it comes to performance and whatnot. 2006, remember we had George Mason. They beat Michigan State, North Carolina, UConn. They made it to the Final Four. Thing about that group is no one on that team was averaging more than 13 points a game during the regular season. Who knows if anyone gets grabbed there. 2008, you know this man's getting grabbed. Davison got to the Elite Eight, beat Gonzaga, Georgetown, and Wisconsin. Steph Curry's averaging 25 points per game. He is gone. And then another one in 2011, you had Butler. They beat number 1 Pittsburgh. I think Gordon Hayward. Is that Gordon Hayward? Is that his name? I think it is. Anyway, if these guys are on this platform and they are performing like this and they are grabbing the attention of everyone across the country, you and I talk about it, Curtis and whatnot, you know these schools are coming after them. So that's definitely part of this thing. But what I will push back against is that in basketball, all you need to do is get hot. Like, all you need to do is get Colorado State barely lost to Maryland the other day. It took a buzzer beater for them to win. So I think it's definitely going to get harder for these guys. But in hoop, I've told this story before. I went to the rec center at Pullman, at University of Washington Pullman, and we get on the court, and it's me and a bunch of brothers, and I see we're about to play. And like, there's some scrawny white boys on the court. I go, we about to run these dudes. They whooped our butt, right? Because in hoop, you don't have to be the most athletic all the time. You don't have to be the biggest, fastest, the strongest. You can just get hot. But it's going to be harder to get hot when your guy who's averaging 20, 22 points is going to get snatched. So is it the end of it? No. Is it killing it? For sure.
Yeah.
But we're still going to see it. There's still going to be a year where this team from Wisconsin that no one knows about just get hot, win their conference, and do their thing. But I think Jay's right. It's going to be tough.
To Chris Vanini's point, never in the history of the men's tourney have you gotten to the Sweet 16 with absolutely no non-power conferences represented. He also says since 2007, you haven't gotten this far without having something lower than a number 11 seed. I would like to point out that only in the last several years, so 2018, and then obviously year before last, you did have the first in 2018, the first number 16 seed upset a number 1 with UMBC. And then obviously you had, we'll keep it quick so Lefko doesn't hear it, Fairleigh Dickinson over number 1 seeded Purdue. Those are more recent examples. So on the one hand, you do have no Cinderella stories, and you do potentially have those things leaving, but you have had recent examples of disappointments. Curtis, the three of us were talking about it in the sports pit. Is there something else at play besides NIL?
Well, I mean, realignment has been a big thing for why there just isn't a great representation of more conferences in the Sweet 16. You've got Arizona, who last year was in the Pac-12, is now in the Big 12. BYU, who moved from the WCC to the Big 12. And then 2 years ago, Houston was in the American Athletic Conference. They're now in the Big 12. So if you play this tournament in 2024, you would see more conferences represented in the Sweet 16 than you would now. But it's not to say, I mean, none of those programs are slouches. Like, they've all clearly shown that they're deserving of the conference that they're playing in. But yeah, realignment is not something that the players can control. Transferring is not something that, I mean, realignment has led to, I think, more players being like, I got to get to one of those conferences if I want to be seen. But realignment, I put more on the shoulders of the administrations of these schools, of the conference leaders, of the NCAA, rather than the athletes themselves.
Exactly. The Pac-12 disbanding.
That was not Caleb
to
Love's fault.
Exactly. That had nothing to do with the greediness of, and I know some people see NIL as greediness, though I don't, but with the greediness of students or athletes. It had everything to do with mismanagement at the very top, from not just school administrators and athletic directors, but obviously from the commissioner himself. Bump, do you think that every conversation we have, and we had many during the football season, we had some during the college football playoffs where NIL comes up, having been a former college athlete who has been in favor of athletes getting some kind of compensation, do you ever find yourself second guessing? Do you find yourself wondering if there could be a refinement to the way we're doing things?
Well, there has to be a refinement, but I will never second guess these athletes getting paid, because the money that they bring to these networks, to these universities, is crazy, and they should be paid. But eventually, man, something has to be done to where there's some regulation, right? I've been for 2-year contracts all day. You sign 2-year contracts, you got to stick it out for 2, and then you move on. I mean, like, if we're going to treat it like a professional sport, let's just do that.
Sure.
Right? You are contractually obligated to play for the score of this team for X amount of years, and you can still make your money on the side. Make as much money as you want. That's the only way I see this thing just having some form, some structure to it. That's all we need, is a structure, because denying these athletes their right to get money. I was in summer. I went to, obviously, Wazoo. In summertime, no scholarship checks are coming. I am living off of $20 a week. I wanted to go work at Dismore so bad as a grocery store, and I couldn't even do that.
That's crazy.
Because of all the rules and regulations. Yet I'm looking at admin, coaches, and all these other people going on vacations in the summer, pulling their boats all around town. And at the time, I'm not thinking this way, but as a grown man, I'm thinking about it. I help pay for that.
Well, and I'm sure you look in the stand, you go 5, 5, 5, 5.
Exactly. Just give me 3% of that. So both sides can benefit, but there definitely needs to be some structure to this thing because we are going to lose. Well, we've already lost the essence of college sports. It is no longer just for the pride, for the name on my chest. No, it's for the name on my chest for this year. And if there's a bigger name with more money, then you're going to come grab me. So let's just call it what it is. It's professional sports. Let's get contracts and give it some structure.
Some big roster moves to talk about with the Mariners. Ryan Divish joining us next.
Baseball is back. Julio Rodriguez and the 2025 Mariners are ready to play ball.
God, Julio, home run!
Opening day is just 3 days away.
It's a mentality. It's time to battle. It's time to fight.
Seattle Sports will be live from Soto all day, including Wyman and Bob at Victory Hall from 2 to 6 p.m. Seattle Sports, the home of the Mariners, and your exclusive home for opening day.
Bracket busted? Don't worry, Madness Maniacs, you still have a shot at winning. Head to seattlesports.com/win to fill out your 16-team bracket. It's not too late to join in on the fun. It's the Seattle Sports Bracket Bucks presented by Muckleshoot Casino Resort. And the winner of the 16-team competition will win a $500 Visa gift card. Register and find complete rules at seattlesports.com/win. Seattle Sports Bracket Bucks presented by Muckleshoot Casino.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
The smart way to improve home comfort is a new heat pump. New heat pumps from Home Comfort Alliance provide efficient heating and cooling in one unit. Upgrade today and enjoy 18 months same as cash financing and up to 15% off through March. Visit homecomfortalliance.com.
What's up, everyone? It's me, the Mariners Gatorade Cooler, and I wouldn't trade my view from the dugout for anything. Watching Logan Gilbert mid-shutout, taking a breather right beside me, he is calm, collected, and fully locked in. Keep it coming, Walter.
Swing and a miss. Logan Gilbert, 6 straight strikeouts.
And Victor Robles running by me with the trident in hand. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. And that's not just because I'm filled with ice.
How about Victor Robles? It landed all the way to the second deck.
And when Cal walks it off, oh, you know what time it is.
A walk-off grand slam for Cal Raleigh.
It's celebration time. And they never see me coming. Masters Baseball, Trident Sun.
Mariners opening day at T-Mobile Park is this Thursday, March 27th. Don't miss the festivities, including a ceremonial first pitch from Ichiro. Plus, check out everything on deck for the first homestand, like Randy Arozarena Crossed Arm Hoodie Night this Friday, March 28th. The best seats are going fast, so get yours today at mariners.com.
Did you know colon cancer can be detected early or prevented through regular screening?
I have detected Around Earth is the greatest lie ever.
Okay, Roger. My uncle just passed away and I inherited his cockatoo, Roger. He was a member of the Flat Earth Society, so Roger picked up on some of his rhetoric. Anyway, screening, such as a colonoscopy.
Screen these! Screen these!
Roger that, Roger. Moving on. Colonoscopies can detect early-stage colon or rectal cancer or even polyps, which are abnormal growths that can turn into cancer over time.
I'm a Flat Earth walker.
Come on, Roger. What did I do to my uncle to deserve you? You don't get to choose what you inherit, just like colon cancer. Unlike Roger here, I believe in science. And science says that if colon cancer runs in your family, you're more likely to develop it yourself. Talk to your doctor about when you should start screening. Find out more at coloncancercoalition.org. A message from the Colon Cancer Coalition.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Some roster moves from the Mariners ahead of Thursday's opening day. The Mariners released Mitch Haniger. He hadn't played in games since March 8th, dealing with left shoulder discomfort. Seattle Times reporter Ryan Divish reporting Haniger will likely need to sign a minor league contract with another team to help rehab, get back, and the Mariners will still have to pay him $15 million. Ryan joining us in 30 seconds.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Seattle Times reporter Ryan Divish joining us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook hotline. Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
Not too bad. I decided to leave the 90-degree weather of Arizona to fly back to Montana, so I'm at SeaTac right now looking outside at the lovely weather here in the spring. Feels like opening day already.
You know what? For the record, there were cherry blossoms that littered all over my car over the last couple of days, so it does feel a little bit like spring, but I don't know if it's spring enough to leave 90-degree weather, so good for you for that sacrifice. I'm going to start with obviously the news about Mitch Haniger. Ryan, I don't know that you were especially shocked by this, but what did you make of the move? What's next for Mitch, and what's next for the Mariners? What does it mean for their roster?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I wasn't really surprised in the sense that, I didn't think he was going to make the opening day roster. I figured they'd put him on the injured list and then maybe see, let him work his way back, play some rehab games, see where he was at, see if he could help the team. Because, again, you don't really know. Maybe down the road, we saw guys get hit by pitches already this year in spring training, missed some time. The Mariners have been lucky, but what happens if a guy gets hit by a pitch and has to go on the injured list? Maybe you would have needed him right when he was getting ready to come back. But I always felt like at some point his time would probably be over with the Mariners, just given how much money he's making and the fact that he was positionally limited. You can't play him in the outfield anymore. He isn't really that capable out there, just kind of the wear and tear over the years. And so, you're talking about a guy that's essentially a DH, and the Mariners have a lot of DHs on their team. So it just didn't really seem like a fit. And then, of course, there's always kind of the narrative that the Mariners wouldn't want to, pay him $15 million not to play. But at some, they're going to pay him $15 million whether he's on the roster or not. And so, I mean, that's kind of where they were at. So, I mean, I wasn't surprised that it happened. Maybe the timing of it all. I thought maybe they'd let him try and work his way back, get to full health, and then make the decision. But I think at some point, if you know you got to make the decision down the road, maybe just, rip the Band-Aid off now and make the move. As far as Mitch goes, he'll have to sign a minor league deal and then make the team. He's got to get healthy first. He was just starting baseball activity, and then so I think he'll sign a minor league deal, kind of wait it out and see where he's at, get his shoulder healthy, and then go from there. There are teams that will take a chance on him just because he's a veteran, and they'll give him a chance, and then they'll go, and we'll see if he has anything left. I mean, what we're seeing is a lot of injuries are happening right now. And so teams are willing to take that chance on a veteran guy because he is a pro and because they know that he can kind of go in and handle himself. So that's kind of where they're at with them.
Ron, we know it was a combination of things when it comes to Mitch, right? It was injury history. I have to go back and revisit all the injuries he's had. 3 for 18, I believe, 1 bomb in the spring. But how much of this decision was made because of the names that might be pushing him, specifically Rowdy?
I mean, yeah, I guess. Rowdy Tellez has played okay this spring. He's hit some homers. Kind of did what Rowdy Tellez does. It's not overwhelming. He does play a pretty good first base for his big, for being a bigger guy. He's got really good hands, pretty decent feet. I think that was a factor. I don't know that there was anybody you looked at and said, oh, my God, you got to throw him on the roster. He's played his way on. I mean, if you were going by the numbers in spring training, then Harry Ford would be on the roster. But, no, I just think it was kind of, at some point they knew they were going to have to make this decision with Mitch. And he really had shown nothing to help make that decision more difficult because the shoulder started bothering him. So, Rowdy will make the team and he could help them. But I didn't think it was like, oh, they had to do this. They had to keep him on. I thought Rowdy played well enough to deserve it. And you looked at how they could use him. Defensively, he's better than Luke Raley at first base. So it does give you that option if you have him on the roster.
I'm sure the Mariners are happy with being one of the highest scoring or scored, among the most runs of any team from spring training. However, as we know, you can't really look at those stats and expect them to translate, particularly for a team with some massive offensive question marks. Is there anything from spring, Ryan, that you feel like, oh, let's see how that works out? Because it felt like maybe an encouraging sign.
Yeah, a lot of times, like the spring training games are whose minor leaguers beat up on the other team's minor leaguers because it's all late. We saw a ton of late scoring. I think the one thing that, like, for me is the swings I saw from Julio Rodriguez this spring, I thought were pretty important for Mariners fans. Like like the home run, the grand slam he hit yesterday, he didn't try and hit it out of the park. He hit it out of the park, but he didn't try to do it. Like it was a fastball away. Wasn't real hard. He'd been way out in front on a pitch earlier, and he made an adjustment, didn't swing too hard, just hit it to right center and hit a homer. I mean, I think that's the one thing is he's kind of sort of found the identity of who he is as a hitter and what it takes for him to be good. The swings where we saw him falling all over the plate and everything, we haven't seen that. He's been much more under control. And I think that's a really good sign. I mean, for the most part, most of the players have been using that kind of approach that Edgar Martinez wants, hit the ball to all parts of the field, focus on hitting up the middle and kind of adjusting from there. But, again, it's spring training. Once you get out there and they're really trying to get you out and they're not just working on things could change. But I did think that, like, Julio's progress this spring and the intent behind a lot of his swings was good. And I think that's important because we've talked about it before, but when he's really good, the offense is usually pretty good.
We're expecting or we're hoping for a lot of guys to kind of improve off of what they did last year. A name that is constantly talked about is Polanco, right? He's making that move to third base. He went yard last spring training. Just how do you feel about him going into the season? How's his knee looking? The vibes are good. A scouting report, my man.
Yeah, he looked great at the plate. I mean, he's hit the ball really hard from both sides of the plate. Looks really comfortable. Doesn't look off balance. Definitely looks like he's a guy that has his legs underneath of him. He talked about last year just going up to the plate, not having the strength in the left knee to really drive off of it or land on it when he was swinging. In the field is a little shaky. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a great defensive third baseman. I wouldn't even say he's an average third baseman right now. I mean, he could get better. I think we saw Josh Rojas improve throughout the last season. The more he worked with Perry Hill and did the work daily, but right now it looks a little rough at times, and I don't know how much they're going to play him right away because they have a lot of utility and fielders and such. They can make some moves and play him. They could DH him a couple days. They can do some stuff. They can get creative, especially with like Rowdy Tellez being able to play first base. You have Raley can go to the outfield. They can make some different moves to not have to force him at third base. And I do think we'll see Dylan Moore go in there late in games if they have a lead as a defensive replacement because he doesn't look real comfortable out. There's a little tentativeness and he's not moving great, but, then again, they started Luis Arias at third base last year, so it can't be that bad.
What are some key injuries or question marks we're monitoring as we start the season here, Ryan?
Well, you're watching for George Kirby to see when he'll be back. He's playing catch again today, and I think, they think ideally he'd be back by May 1st at the latest, and that's a pretty big deal to get him back. I mean, this is basically what happened to Brian Wu last year. They lost Brian Wu for a month. and then, came back, and then they really started to roll. I think the other big thing is monitoring the bullpen injuries. Matt Brash is supposed to be back by the last week of April. He seems to be on track for that. Troy Taylor, who was pretty valuable as a rookie last year, is really starting to ramp it up and could be back here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then, you also have Jackson Coar and Trevor Gott, two guys that are really kind of nice middle innings relievers with some stuff that are working their way back and could be back by the middle of May, the end of May. So all of a sudden you're like, bullpen gets really loaded. Because I look at like Carlos Vargas and Eduard Bizardo, and I don't think they're very good, but they're out of minor league options, so they decided to keep them. But yeah, I think you monitor the Brash and Taylor, because that bullpen gets really, it gets really deep once you get those guys back, and they'll have to be monitored a little bit. They won't have full go when they get back, but those guys could really help the bullpen. And so it's mostly the pitching stuff that you're worried about.
Hey, Ryan, Harry Ford's been making some noise. I think you mentioned it earlier in our conversation. How close is he? And when do you think we'll see Harry?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when if there was something that happened to one of the catchers and they went on the injured list, whether they bring up Blake Hunt or they'd bring up Harry Ford. Blake is already on the roster, which makes it a lot easier. You'd have to put Harry on the 40-man and start his option clock. But I do think he helped reestablish some of his value as a prospect this spring. There wasn't a ton of power. There was some power, but he put the ball in play a lot. He hit it, he hit it hard, a lot of singles and some doubles. But he showed that maybe last year's numbers were a little bit, of an anomaly, or that he's improved on some of the hitting, because last year was a lot of singles and not a lot of power. And he showed some power this spring. He'll be in Tacoma, where it's, a lot more hitter friendly. And, the thing is too, is he still needs to clean up some of his receiving stuff a little bit. For his being as good of an athlete as he is, it still needs some work. He's far from a finished product, but I do think that playing this much this spring and being in all these Cactus League games really helped him kind of show him where he needs to get to. And that's a big plus. You're in Tacoma, you're right there. Okay, how do I polish these things out to get better so that when there is an opportunity to get called up, there's no doubt who they're going to. And I think that's what he's got to work on in the next couple months.
AJ Hinch and Dan Wilson are tied for the odds-on favorites to be AL Manager of the Year. When it comes to Wilson, what do you think odds makers or maybe bettors are seeing from that? Because that really surprised me.
Well, you just basically take the best teams that didn't make the playoffs, or the teams that were kind of bad last year, and then, have the best chance. I mean, you look at the Mariners and say, well, how did this team not make the postseason? Well, they pretty much bring everything back. So if a team that didn't make the postseason last year and Dan comes in and leads them to the postseason, then, that's a pretty good piece for your resume for winning Manager of the Year. So I think that's kind of what you did. It's a lot based on last year's team, whether, how it failed and what they've added, and kind of go from there. So, I mean, that's the thing is, I don't know that this team is better than it was last year. I don't know that it's worse than it was last year. It's kind of right there because they didn't change that many pieces. Essentially, they added Donovan Solano and Rowdy Tellez to replace Haniger and a couple other guys. So it's sort of the same team. If they get the same kind of, and I don't necessarily believe they're going to get the 94 quality or 92 quality starts that they got out of the rotation last year, but I mean, they're probably going to get still close to 80. And, if players like Julio and JP Crawford bounce back even a little bit and the offense is slightly better, then yeah, they're going to be right around that 85 win mark, because that's what the talent level is kind of had. I mean, they won 86 games last year and they played pretty poorly offensively for the better part of 5 months. So, I mean, if their pitching stays together and the bullpen gets healthy as expected, then this is a team that can win between 86 and 90 games by just playing not terribly.
Ryan, you mentioned that you don't know if they've gotten better or if they've gotten worse, but there are some things that remain the same. But the biggest change has been just Dan Wilson and Edgar and the guys, right? Has the identity of this team changed a bit? Are you looking at them differently, even though you don't think they've gotten better or worse?
No, because I mean, the identity is still pitching. It's still built around pitching. I mean, I don't look at them now and think just because they have Edgar that there's some sort of offensive juggernaut. He's made it simplified. He simplified the offensive approach to where it should be more productive than it's been. It's part of the thing is though, it's all well and good to say it all in spring training and preach it when things are going right. But if things aren't going right, the guys go back to the way they used to do it before. especially if their own personal numbers aren't great. But no, I think the identity is still going to be defense or pitching, and then the bullpen, starting pitching, bullpen. Defense will be, the outfield defense will be fine. Julio and Victor are pretty solid out there. Rayleigh's good when he's out there. Randy's okay. The infield defense could be a little bit more shaky than it's been in the past, but if you, like I said, if you can just get average offense, then you can kind of overcome some of those other liabilities. It's like, you can be, if you're really good offensively, you can be terrible defensively. But if you're just if you're just so offensively, you can't be terrible defensively. So I think that's where they're at. They still have to rely on the pitching, bullpen and starters, and hope the other stuff kind of improves as the season goes on.
Hey, Ryan, I try to be fair with criticism of the Mariners, and so I'm going to lean on you as someone who knows this team well, but also keeps a very close eye on bigger issues throughout the league. Is there something that maybe the Mariners get a lot of blame for where you go, I think a lot of teams are struggling with? And is there something that you think uniquely they kind of stand in their own way? You know what I mean? Maybe two different problems. One of them, you're like, you have no excuse, you got to fix this, and the other one might be a bigger issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like somebody says, well, there's no depth. It was like when Robles got hurt. Well, they didn't spend the money to get depth. And I'm thinking that's not how it works. That's unless you're the Dodgers and you got all these guys signing to want to play and not get playing time. Guys don't sign if they're not going to play. The money issue isn't about signing players to be backups. I mean, because that's not what your backups are usually your depth. If you have good depth, is quality prospects at the AAA level that are ready, big league ready. That's when you have really good depth, so the guys can step in. So I don't, you look at the Yankees the Yankees rotation. Well, there's no depth. They had to go sign Ryan Yarbrough today. They're scrambling. Most teams can't handle losing one of their best players or one or two of their everyday starters and just have automatic fill-ins. Because those guys they're not on the roster. If they're decent, they're going to be playing for another team because people want to play. The Dodgers might be the exception to the rule because they've managed to get a bunch of guys that are happy in maybe platoon roles or whatever. But the rest of the team, so that's the one I kind of roll my eyes at. Like, you can criticize the Mariners for not spending money in a lot of different ways, but depth isn't the reason I look at it, because what you spend money for is impact. You spend money to get guys that help you on the field every day. It's kind of like spending a bunch of money on a backup quarterback when you have needs at someplace else.
Yeah.
That's not what you do. But that's the knock on the Mariners to me, is like recognizing what you need to do to get over the top and realizing that good isn't great. That's my biggest knock on them, is like, yeah, they're good right now. But that's the thing, is like, I can sit there and say they might not be as bad or they might not be significantly better. And they're stuck in the in-between. And I think that's the worst place to be when you're an owner and you have a team that has talent. Like, if you're in between is 82 to 87 wins and you're right there on the in the middle part, the fringes of the wild card, then invest to take you off that. I mean, like, either be hot or cold, go or don't go. I mean, I think that's the thing, is like just this kind of thing of staying in the middle and being lukewarm and hoping that things go well. There are ways to offset that, or ways to offset some of the regression, and they don't do that because they are risk averse. They remember the mistakes more than they remember the things that went well, and they just are comfortable.
He is Seattle Times. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, I'm just saying they're comfortable with where they're at, and they shouldn't be comfortable. I mean, to me, that's the biggest fault. They're comfortable with the success they've gained, and they can say that they want to win more, and they can say they want to win a World Series, but nothing that we've seen from them says that they really do, because they would have done more.
Completely fair point, and I know not a lot of listeners are agreeing with you right now. The Seattle Times reporter Ryan Divish, kind enough to join us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Thanks, Ryan. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
See you guys.
Let's get to 4 Down territory.
This is 4 down territory, going inside the game with former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
First down, since college teams are more reluctant to have spring games, Colorado has pivoted. What's their strategy, and do you like it?
I hate that teams aren't doing spring ball anymore because they're taking money out of my pocket. Okay, I work the spring game. So selfishly, I don't like it, but I understand why they're doing it. And Colorado is having or wants to have a joint practice with Syracuse. And I think that's perfect. That's what the NFL does, right? When you don't want your starters to go out there during preseason, you bring a team over and you guys just go at it for a while. And I really like this because it gives you live reps against somebody else. That's better than a spring game. Because in spring games, you're going up against a guy that you played or going up against every single day. You're allowed like 15 practices in a 39 day window or something like that. You know that guy's tendencies. It's different when someone flies over and you've watched the film and you can prepare for a team. And I think that helps the younger guys too. Learn how to prepare for a team, but also learn how to practice with some intensity while taking care of yourself at the same time. This is the move right here. I think spring games are going to be gone in a year or two. Most of them are already gone. They no longer want to advertise their young talent so guys can come over from other schools and poach them with NIL deals. So, yeah, I like this move by Colorado. I think this is the way it's going to go, and I would encourage more people to do it.
Second down. Kirk Cousins says he'll wait until after the draft to seek a trade partner. Why is this a good move, and who should take a look at him?
You know why? He said, fool me once. Because last year I signed a deal with y'all, and that was before the draft, the Atlanta Falcons.
Fair.
And you signed Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Now my career looks a bit different. I was trying to find a place that I feel like should take a real look at Kirk Cousins, but I find him in the same category I find Russell Wilson. Where are you going to go? There's really no other options out there. New Orleans is available, I think. You have Cleveland as well with Jameis Winston over there. New York. But everyone's waiting on Aaron Rodgers to see what he's going to do. We think he's going to go with the Steelers. That's about it. I mean, if I'm Kirk Cousins, I like the approach because you don't want to get burned again. You want to make sure you're able to play. The only place I can really see him is in New Orleans. And I don't know if he wants to go there. At this point in Kirk Cousins' career, it's for the love of the game because he's not a quarterback that is going to put you over the hump, that's going to make you from a playoff team to a conference championship team to a contender for a Super Bowl. That's just where he is. And it's crazy to see these quarterbacks in this place because for 10 years, we've watched him play some good ball. Say what you want about Cousins, hasn't won a lot of playoff games, but you know he's going to make you a contender. So, yeah, New Orleans, I guess, but good move by Kirk Cousins, being patient with this one because he got burned last year.
Always really weird to see certain names still available given like the careers that we've watched. Speaking of, third down. 17 of the top 100 free agents are still available. Is there anyone on this list you'd want to see the Hawks pursue?
So I'll give you a few names, right? You got, or just guys who are on the list. You got Aaron Rodgers, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs. You have J.K. Dobbins was there, Keenan Allen, E.J. Speed. The only name, and I've mentioned him last year, that I would take a look at is Brandon Scherf. He's an offensive guard, I believe, is with Jacksonville. That's about it. So I bring this to our attention because the top names are already gone, and there are some who are still left. Do not expect the Seahawks who sign a name that you are extremely familiar with. They're going to find guys who fit their scheme and fit the Kubiak scheme. All the big names are gone, and you've waited a long time. You made a big swing at Will Fries, and obviously that didn't work out. But no, man, it is what it is. 17 of the top 100 remain. There's no one on this list other than Brandon Scherf that I say to myself, the Hawks have to be taking a look at him. So you find the right guy for you. That's what's going to happen, and you just have to get used to that. But I also want to encourage people to look at what's already here. I do think that the young guys who are on this roster already can contribute and will look better in this Kubiak offense.
I mean, again, John Schneider thinks that. I will admit, though, that I understand a lot of fan frustration of going, but these guys were here last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not like they're new names that just aren't as exciting, and you're like, let's see what'll change. Do you think that, and I've asked you this earlier, scheme will have as much of an impact as maybe Schneider thinks?
They will be better in this offense. I truly believe that.
Okay.
How much better? That's up to a lot of other factors, play calling, their development themselves, just chemistry on the offensive line. They will be better, but I can't tell you. You're going to have the best line in the game. Doubt that.
Fourth down. What team do you have no expectations for, but will now be watching very closely? Interesting one.
Things can change. We have a team every year that you and I just seem to fall in love with.
Yeah.
Houston was one year. Baltimore's forever in our hearts.
Forever.
This year it's the New York Football Giants.
No, it's not. I
It's
didn't
the New York
co-sign
Football
this.
Giants.
I didn't co-sign this.
It is, because if Jameis
Stacey,
Winston
this
is the
legally
starter,
binding.
it is. It's legally binding.
No, we're supposed to vote as a show.
If Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback for the New York Football Giants, you mean to tell me you're not going to be watching a little closely to what those guys are doing?
No.
You know you are. Jameis Winston. Come on now. It's going to be the biggest story in football. This guy go out there and throw 35 touchdowns and 35 interceptions. Let's go, Jameis. Yeah, New York Football Giants. I'm watching him. I don't expect anything. But he has a receiver over there, and you know he ain't afraid to throw that thing. So go ahead and throw it up.
Stop it. Let's see what's on tonight.
What's on tonight with Bump and Stacy, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook at Muckleshoot. Now, here's what's on tonight.
Second round coverage of the women's NCAA tourney airs all day today on ESPN. Juju Watkins and the number 1 seeded USC face number 9 Mississippi State in the last game of the day at 7 p.m. Timeline coming your way next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob. Weekdays 2 to 7.
Four-time Pro Bowl defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence is now a Seattle Seahawk. This will be his 12th season.
It shouldn't be a surprise from the standpoint of, like, last year, the first move they made was D-line, and it was to sign Leonard Williams. They're going to build up that defensive line, and, you know, it's actually looking pretty good. We still have a first-rounder from last year that has yet to explode.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Who has some of the best deals on new Fords and Isuzus in the Pacific Northwest? That would be Wayscar Ford in Auburn. Who has a large selection of the highest quality used vehicles in the Pacific Northwest? Wayscar Ford in Auburn. What dealership promises no games, no gimmicks, and never any pressure to purchase? Wayscar Ford in Auburn. Who's the only Ford dealer in all of Washington State to offer a 5-day or 500-mile, no questions asked, 100% money-back return policy? Wayscar Ford in Auburn. And who offers a free lifetime powertrain warranty on virtually all their new Fords? Guess now. Yes, correct. Wayscar Ford in Auburn. Who's the only dealer that will purchase your used car, pay you right up front, and then once they resell your old car, return 50% of the profit back to you? In fact, this dealer has given back over $750,000 to customers who have sold them their cars, and it's only Wayscar Ford in Auburn. Finally, what dealership has been family-owned and operated in Auburn for 103 years? You guessed it. Wayscar Ford in Auburn. Visit them at wayscarford.com.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. For over 55 years, you've trusted us for roofing, siding, windows, decking, and gutters. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors.
You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Superior Linen Service. 98 years providing logoed apparel, uniforms, floor mats, linens, and more. Give us a call. We answer the phone. Superior Linen Service. Visit suplinen.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with turbo power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
These days, figuring out what, where, and how to watch TV is out of control. And so is the cost. That's why I'm psyched I found Philo. Live TV from A&E, Discovery, MTV, and all the channels I love. A huge library of movies and shows. And an unlimited DVR to save them. I also get AMC Plus and all their blockbuster hits. All this for just $28 a month when you sign up at philo.tv. Give it a try, risk-free at philo.tv.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new TV? That's a lot of time in front of one TV. So why not get one of the best sets for the next 7 years, like one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony models? Too expensive? What if you could get up to $1,000 trade-in for your old set? Who would do a stupid deal like this? Right now, at Video Only, you can get big bucks for your old set as a trade-in and a hot price on the new models. Don't be sorry. Check out Video Only.
This is Steve Amman, president of Pacific Power Batteries. And when we hear oy vey, zut alors, or oofta, we know that battery prices are high these days. Our job is to control our costs and offer a great value to you. We tried calling our vendors to ask them to stop raising prices, but they haven't returned our calls. Whether it's a brand new battery, a reconditioned battery with a 90-day guarantee, or a factory second with a 1-year guarantee, we'll have something for your budget. So stop in at any Pacific Power Battery store, and we promise to help you.
Hey guys, did you know that half of men over age 50 have erectile dysfunction on some level? Whether you have mild, moderate, or severe ED, West Coast Men's Health can help. We don't prescribe pills and hope they work. Instead, we treat the root cause of the problem with acoustic wave therapy, which breaks down plaque, unclogs arteries, and restores blood flow. We have treated thousands of men across our 11 locations nationwide and have established ourselves as a leader in the industry. So whether you have ED, Peyronie's disease, or suffer from chronic pain, such as neuropathy, carpal tunnel, or Dupuytren's contracture, West Coast Men's Health can help. No pills, no shots, no surgery, just results.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call West Coast Men's Health at 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
This is The Timeline
with Bump and Stacy.
Brought to you by 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
It is The Timeline on Bump and Stacy, bringing you the top stories you're going to see and hear about on your own show. Now, I know a lot of you guys had your brackets busted this weekend. In fact, everyone did. There are no perfect brackets. However, as of 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday, there was a bracket on ESPN.com that was the 5th best scoring bracket. This is out of millions. There's one problem, and I'm sorry to this person. They have a near perfect game. They only missed 3 games out of a possible 48. However, they didn't have any teams filled in after the Elite 8. That's right. The 5th best scoring bracket filled out on ESPN. The person who did it kind of forgot to fill in the rest of their bracket.
You know what? I've done that before. I filled out most of the bracket and say, I'm going to get back to this, and then you just forget, but then I end up just doing a whole completely different bracket. This is irresponsible, though. You're on to something great, and you just forgot. You know what? And they probably did what I do, because I just wake up the morning of the tournament, like at 5 a.m., and just go through it real quick and say, all right, let's just see what happens. This gives me that type of vibe. Like, look, I'm just going to do it real quick. I got distracted, and I forgot all about it. Hopefully, they have filled out a full bracket elsewhere, maybe on a different device or service or whatnot, because this would be heartbreaking. We need to find who this person is.
Curtis, do you know, I know there's like the $1 billion bracket thing that no one's ever going to win. Does ESPN have a money prize?
I think so. It's like $250,000 or something.
Right. And obviously this person was in 5th place, but still, to be in 5th place, if you were in 50th place, that would be wildly impressive. You'd be in like the 99 percentile. Just crazy.
Like $250,000, that's life-changing money for most people.
Oh my God. Sucks to be that person. I wonder who it is. We'll never know. Next up. The WNBA released their national TV schedule for the 2025 season. The Indiana Fever will have an unprecedented 41 of 44 games carried nationally. I wonder why.
Cue the haters right now. Cue the haters.
Hating on what?
The girls in the league. Well, our games are important too. You're not selling out the games like she is, man. She is LeBron James. You know, I watched the Cleveland Cavaliers a little bit when they had a point guard by the name of Knight that played on that team. And, just every now and then when they were baby blue and black back in the day. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't, like after that, I didn't watch the Cleveland Cavaliers at all until LeBron came. And I'm interested. Let me see this 18-year-old. I didn't start watching WNBA games for real until she came into this league. Like, I watched the Sparks growing up because it was brand new and Lisa Leslie and all that stuff, and then with the comments with Cynthia Cooper, and but then there was a gap where I just kind of just glanced over it. We're watching now mainly because of Caitlin Clark. And let me say this, too. I am watching a little bit because of Angel Reese because she talks so much trash.
She does.
And I'm looking forward to that. And I am watching because of Asia. Like, there are some ballers in that league, but this makes sense. You know people want to see Caitlin play.
I would understand the Caitlin Clark hate. Now, first of all, there are important conversations that are part of, I'll say, the Caitlin Clark discourse. None of them should invalidate what Caitlin's been able to do. And that's especially true because I would understand if it was like, Caitlin did nothing. She had no numbers to back it up, no play to back it up. She wasn't a baller in any way. It was just this weird kind of, this girl just randomly is famous. Maybe she had a lot of NIL deals or a big Instagram following, was a big influencer or something like that. She's a baller. So what are we even arguing about?
Balling. We want to see the ballers play.
Just accept it's the Caitlin Clark effect, and it's a good thing for the league. And the other important conversations can and should be talked about, but I don't think they should detract from what Caitlin has done.
I'm trying to figure out how many nationally televised games the Aces have because they're the best team in the game. And I think and you have the best player in the game as well. So I would assume that you'll be able to watch the Aces games almost just as much as Caitlin Clark.
That would be a fair take if it was something where they have a fraction of the games and you're like, hold up. Like, I know that last year they didn't, but like you're telling me one of the best teams with like one of the league's best players isn't, like, that is a fair take.
They got 33.
So, I mean, again, still up there.
Yeah.
Boxing legend and one of the most famous commercial pitchmen ever, George Foreman, passed away over the weekend at 76. He became the oldest heavyweight champ in history after knocking out Michael Moore in 1994 at the age of 46. He reportedly made more money in his post-boxing career, though, with his line of George Foreman grills. I had one. Many other people did. Selling naming rights for $138,099,000 and keeping a small ownership stake in the company.
I remember in 1994 when he knocked out old boy because my mom used to have parties and stuff at the house, and that was one of them. So that was like my first image of George Foreman, like the out of shape George Foreman, not the guy back in the 60s and 70s who was fit. And then his effect on my life is crazy because in college I used to George Foreman everything.
Yes.
Easy. Just flip it over, boom, you get to cook both sides and the grease slides out. Perfect, man. So this is a perfect example of an athlete taking his likeness and just building this empire. And he got like 10 kids. And I believe all of them, was that Holyfield? No, is it George Foreman who has, all of his kids have like George in their name, like Georgina, Georgette,
I think
something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll look this up. I'm pretty sure that it's him,
Yeah, I
right?
think it is
Curtis,
him.
do you know offhand if all of his kids or
I
have
believe
his
so,
kids'
yeah.
names or have his name, excuse me. George Foreman grill. I absolutely had one. Is there another person who you guys, again, everyone knew of George Foreman, even if you didn't watch his career, you knew of him and you knew that that's why it's like, oh, this guy's selling this grill. Obviously, I'm talking to a specific generation, an older generation. This isn't going to be relevant to, but is there someone that you knew only after their athletic career or their main career came to a close and then you realized, oh, like for mine, is Newman's Own dressing. I didn't know Paul Newman was a real actor. I had no idea. I thought it was just Newman's Own dressing, and it was like a fake Julius Caesar guy. And I learned when Wyman said that he was in Slapshot, and I was like, "What do you mean, Paul Newman? Like the salad dressing guy, Paul Newman? He's
Newman.
real?"
No,
That was
mine. It has to be George Foreman.
George Foreman.
That's it.
Curtis, do you have one, or Matt? Someone you didn't even know. Like, wait, you're telling me this guy had a whole career before he was selling me this?
Well, you grow up in the 90s. O.J. Simpson's known for a lot of other things besides his football career.
Very fair point.
Hertz pitchman. Other things as well. Definitely not to what like Paul Newman and George Foreman, who used their post-playing career or post-acting or playing career for good and not bad.
Wally from Snoqualmie with a great one. A lot of kids have no idea that John Madden. That's a really good one.
That's good.
That John Madden was a real person.
Kind of related. I didn't realize Burt Reynolds was actually a football player. He played college ball. I didn't realize that.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
He was nice like that.
Not nice enough to
go
pro.
But yeah, he balled. It's official.
Okay.
Longest yard was real.
Next up, former Wazoo head coach and current Houston head coach Kelvin Sampson. Shout Shout out Coach Sampson for this. Made sure to correct a reporter who mispronounced Gonzaga, I think is how he says it here.
Didn't you try to get a game with Gonzaga in 2021?
Gonzaga.
It
always burns me up when people say that. Yeah, it's like calling me Kevin. My name is not Kevin. My mother used to say, people would see my name and say, "Hey, Kevin," and she would say, "Don't let people call you Kevin. Your name is Kelvin. Make sure they pronounce your name right." So that's why my antennas go up with that. Same with Gonzaga. They were our neighbors. It's not Spokane, and it's not Gonzaga. It's Gonzaga and it's Spokane.
I appreciate that Gonzaga does make Gonzaga sound fancy, like instead of the Zags. And honestly, I didn't grow up being a huge college hoops fan, so if I didn't hear just constantly the Zags, maybe I wouldn't know it was Gonzaga. But hearing Gonzaga constantly from people, it would be one thing if the Zags weren't routinely a great team. But what excuse do you have if you cover college basketball at this point to call it Gonzaga?
I used to, coming from California, I called it Gonzaga for so long. Spokane, I called it Spokane for so long. So I remembered Gonzaga just by remembering the Zags, Gonzaga. And Spokane, that just came. But common mistake, but you're right. They have a reputation.
Yeah.
They're one of the best basketball programs in the country every single year, even though silly Washingtonians pick them to win the national championship every year in their brackets, and then they're surprised when they lose.
There's just certain names you should know. Krzyzewski. There's just certain names. Someone says, a lot of people also say Oregon or Oregon. Yes.
Oregon.
I don't know that there are certain names where it's but that's a whole state. It's only one of 50. You just got to know. You don't need to say Oregon. Just certain things constantly surprise me. What I need to know coming your way next. Get your questions into the Mac and Jacks text line 866-979-3776.
When you're on the pitch clock and don't have time for your favorite Seattle sports shows, listen to the podcasts on demand.
How about that? Unbelievable. Who would have thought?
Every hour, every interview, every look behind the scenes.
Dan Wilson's the new skipper. This is a window. This is a time where we can get it done, and that's the hope. That's the vision for this club.
Find us on seattlesports.com, the Seattle Sports app, or wherever you get podcasts.
Holy smokes!
Never miss a minute of Seattle sports, the home of the Mariners.
Springtime has me thinking about taking a nice trip somewhere to unwind, relax, but also have a little bit of entertainment at night. I'm not talking about getting on a plane. Why would you go through all that trouble? We have plenty to explore here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Michael Bumpus here, and the place I'm thinking of is an easy drive away. It has a beautiful resort with deluxe rooms with in-room tablets and free Wi-Fi. A challenging golf course with water on almost nearly every hole, delicious restaurants, and the best steakhouse north of Seattle, and a brand new authentic Mexican restaurant, The Cantina. Plus, events like live music and free entries to win a share of $300,000 every Saturday in March. The place I'm going to is Silver Reef Casino. I can't wait to get up there, and neither should you. SilverReefCasino.com. Check out all they have to offer and book your stay today. It's the perfect getaway where you have a little bit of fun, come back feeling refreshed, and a spot to call your own. Silver Reef Casino, located off of I-5, exit 260.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
Hello. Welcome to Lee Johnson Auto Family. This is King. This organization's a special one. They call it the Lee Johnson Auto Family, and it's not just a name, it's not just some cliche. They foster an environment for us to become a family, to work together, to really become close, and they show us in a lot of different ways that they do value us. Is it perfect? No place is. But I've been very thankful to be here in the almost 10 years and have every plan to stay here for a lot longer and just watch it continue to grow.
He's fun and professional, which explains why so many people visiting Lee Johnson Kia ask for him by name. The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
What if your business could see beyond what is and into what can be?
What if you could create more impact in every decision? What if you had a partner as visionary as you are? With Bank of America, you get access to our trusted experts, real-time insights, and digital tools. So whether you run a local shop or a global enterprise, you're backed by business solutions to make every move matter. What would you like the power to do? Find out how at bankofamerica.com/banking for business. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
For 70 years, we've been known as the Humane Society of the United States. But as the challenges animals face have grown, so have we. We are now called Humane World for Animals. And with you on our side, we are going to end animal cruelty around the globe. Humane World for Animals, the end of animal cruelty.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours. The noon hour of the Bump and Stacy Show is powered every day by the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law Personal Injury Lawyers. Go to pendergastlaw.com.
Over the past decade, Washington state politicians have doubled state spending with no improvements to the issues we care about. Instead, we now have the third highest cost of living in the nation and a $12 billion deficit. It's time to tell legislators we need better results, not bigger taxes. Act now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
Music that moves your soul. Live at Muckleshoot Event Center, Thursday, April 24th. Get tickets before they sell out at muckleshootcasino.com.
Washington State ranks number 5 in the country for auto theft. The most high-risk vehicles are Kia, Hyundai, Ford F-150, F-250, and F-350. Help keep your car safe with these simple and important tips. Don't leave your car running unattended. Park in well-lit areas. Lock up every time. Keep valuables out of sight. Use an anti-theft device like a steering wheel lock. Share this information with friends and family. Prevent the theft and keep you and your vehicle safe. These tips brought to you by the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Get your questions into What I Need to Know. Any question to the Mac and Jack's text line. Quick show today, 866-979-3776. What I need to know, partly sunny and 68 tomorrow. How will you celebrate?
I will come to work, I will leave, and I will take kids to practice. That's how I'll celebrate.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I will not be doing anything. I'll just partly sunny and 68 is still cold to me.
Goodness.
It is. That's not nice.
What?
That's not nice weather. That's not shorts weather. It's not like, oh, tomorrow's going to be 75 and sunny. What are you going to do? It's like, well, maybe I'll go for a walk. What am I going to do?
It's enough to get you outside.
No, it's not. It is not, Bump.
68 is not enough.
You would be shocked at how much it takes to get me outside. 866-979-3776. Catch me outside.
Catch me outside.
Catch me outside. How about that? What I need to know. What was your least favorite subject in high school?
Oh, math. Come on now.
Yeah, not even close.
Math.
Not
what?
close.
I got my kids convinced I was a math wizard. So, like, you guys got it in you. I was great at math.
Yeah.
Dad, can you help me with this? Nah, you got to figure that out yourself.
That's what you have to say.
Figure it out.
You have to be like, honestly, I did such advanced levels of math that I don't even remember how to do some of this.
And they do math differently these days too. I'm like, what? I don't get this.
New math is weird.
Yeah.
I don't. That's how I know I'm old.
Yeah,
when I
new
see
math.
videos about new math, I'm like, dang. It's
Have you
one
heard-
thing to like words and phrases and things, but when you change math, I know I've gotten
Have you heard
old.
the new alphabet?
Yes.
It's frustrating.
Well, because what was the part that was hard to say?
I can't even. My brain
I think
can't retain it.
Did you guys hear about this? The new alphabet?
No.
There's a part of the alphabet that is allegedly
switched up the
difficult for
cadence.
kids to say, so they switched up the cadence.
Mm-hmm.
The LMNOP part?
Does that part?
Probably.
I don't know what the new one sounds like.
It's garbage.
They've also changed up the Mickey Mouse jingle from Disney, like
What?
the MICKEYMOUSE.
To be what?
Now it's like MICKEYMOUSE.
Stop. What are we doing?
Yep.
What are we doing? What I need to know. Did you guys take care of those toll bills?
Heck no.
I've gotten like 5 texts about those. in the
Dude, I
last
got
week.
like 3 over the weekend. It's ratcheting up.
Because people
There
are
are more.
paying. Because people are paying.
It's sad. Tell everyone you know. I had to tell my parents, tell everyone you know, because I'm telling you, even if you're like, oh, it's so funny, I promise you there are people
It's working.
that are doing it, and you need to tell family members, like, do not respond to those texts. Or if you're worried about it, then call the Department of Transportation or go online and enter your, you know what I mean? Like, go through an official channel. Do not respond to fill in the number at gmail.com texting you about toll
Don't do
bills.
it.
What I need to know. What's the Mariners' April win-loss record?
I don't know. They'll be
I'll say hover around 500.
5
you're
games
fine.
above 500.
Wow,
that's a pretty good start.
That's a
Yeah,
really great
yeah,
start.
yeah.
Wow.
I'll take it.
Okay.
We're doing this.
Okay. Wow. Let's see. I'll say if you hover around 500, you're fine. I'm fine. Just don't be in the hole, and that's okay. Let's see.
Hey, my friend just texted me.
Mhm.
I effing responded to those toll texts.
How much did they get them for?
How much? You're listening right now.
Yeah,
how
let 'em
much?
know how
Text
much.
me.
Oh no, my friend's aunt and uncle did, and they
Really?
got them. Yeah, I had to tell my mom multiple times, do not respond.
$6.99.
Wow, wait,
$6.99.
Oh, okay, I was like,
okay.
what?
No.
But if they do that to a ton of people, like
It
thousands
adds
and
up.
thousands and thousands of people, shame on those scammers.
Mhm.
What I need to know, how did Cam Ward jump Shador Sanders in all the mock drafts? I swear Sanders was the favorite just a few months ago.
Nah, I think, at least from the people that I follow, Cam has always been ahead of Shador.
Yeah. I would say the more interesting question to me is, how did Cam separate himself in such a clear way? Because I always, let's say we're talking in December, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be Cam, Shador, and then whoever else. And it's a weak quarterback class because there's kind of these top 2, and then everyone else is a question mark. What's interesting to me is, how did Cam separate himself to where Shador is now like, I don't know, does he fall out of the top 10 entirely?
Mhm.
And I don't think it's Shador. I think it's
Cam.
yeah, that's
Cam's
interesting
just
to me.
a better athlete, better talent, but I think Shador processes things
Yeah.
better than Cam.
Yeah. Let's see. What I need to know. What's the best ice cream flavor? I already know what Bump is going to say.
What am I going to say?
Vanilla bean.
You already know. Vanilla bean.
What if it's not vanilla? What if you have to choose a different one? And it can't be any of the Neapolitan. It can't be chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. You have to be.
the
What's your
caramel
next
one.
creative flavor?
Vanilla with the caramel already in it?
So like a
Like a toffee?
Sure.
like a
that sounds
creme
right.
brulee kind of.
Just put some caramel in
Okay,
that
so
thing.
a caramel one.
Mhm.
Dulce de leche. Matt, Curtis, you cannot choose
The
one of the
right
3
answer-
primary flavors.
Well, cookies and cream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good answer, Matt.
You're going to be angry at me.
Probably.
Mint chocolate chip.
Oh, I'm not going to be angry
Mint
at you, Matt. I
chocolate
could
chip.
never. Yeah,
Really?
mint chocolate chip is a great flavor.
I
My
just squeeze a tube of toothpaste into my bowl of
okay,
ice
there
cream.
we go. My next
Stir
would
it
be
around.
coffee. Coffee ice cream is delicious. What
I'm
I
gonna eat
need
this
to know.
Hershey's bar while I brush my teeth.
Okay. What I need to know.
That's what you guys sound like.
Is there anything they can do about the last 2 minutes of these college basketball games? Here you've got this great fast-paced run and gun game, and then the last 2 minutes is just painful review after review,
Yeah.
foul after foul. Is there anything that can be done?
No, because they want to try to get the game right. Because how many times have we seen calls blown, or you thought the ball went off of this player's hand, it was really that guy. I think they have to do it, but I agree with you with slowing the game down.
Yeah. What I need to know, why haven't we seen the Seahawks make more moves on the offensive line?
They haven't found their person. Haven't found it yet.
Yeah, I think that they did want to make a move to Will Fries, and I think that it sounds like it was Will Fries or we'll just there wasn't like a second or third best option for them. It sounds like in free agency.
Sometimes people back you and they're very credible. One of the smoothest voices in all of sports just texted me and said, vanilla is the best ice cream. Aaron Goldsmith himself just texted me and said, vanilla's it.
Vanilla is a great flavor. I'm not disrespecting vanilla. I'm just saying there are other exciting flavors, and vanilla is a great flavor, but I do think vanilla is better than chocolate or strawberry.
Anything with vanilla. Anything.
Yes, totally. But
the vanilla of broadcasting likes vanilla.
Get him, Goldie. Wow. You better get him, Goldie.
No.
Get him.
If you mean that rich vanilla flavor, Goldie's got a great, deep baseball voice. How dare you, Matt? You said that to hurt. You wanted to hurt him.
Nope, I believe it.
866-979-3776. What crafts is Matt doing, says the listener.
What crafts?
Crafts?
Could people see me?
What are you doing?
Yeah,
I'm
they
cutting
can
out
see you
Curtis
on the
heads right now. It's a very long, fun story.
He puts them on the days off for when I host extra innings.
Oh,
we have
okay.
a Mariners schedule on a cork board back here in the control room.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't know what that person was looking at until you held up the tiny Curtis faces. Oh, I wish you would put them on buttons on the board.
Now there's an idea.
I don't know what buttons they would do because I would take us off air in 2 seconds.
Button.
Yeah, I would have alerts going out. It'd be such a mess. All right, we have a short show today. Obviously, we're out of here sending you to some Mariners spring training play, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.
The John Schneider Show.
With Wyman and Bob.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Uchenna, you redid his deal, and what do you guys expect of him?
Yeah, he had the surgery right after the season, and the doctors are excited, but it's going to be pretty close to his recovery. Like, what is he going to be a PUP candidate, or is he going to be out there without it? And we just ride it for a couple of weeks. It's way too early to tell.
Hear the rest of this interview on demand at SeattleSports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rireka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. With thousands of full replacements with expert craftsmanship and unbeatable warranties, we've been building roofs you can trust for over 5 decades. It's more than just a job, it's our promise to you. Protect your investment with a free Golden Pledge warranty on all GAF roof replacements over $15,000. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
Did you know colon cancer can be detected early or prevented through regular screening?
I have detected Around Earth is the greatest lie ever.
Okay, Roger. My uncle just passed away and I inherited his cockatoo, Roger. He was a member of the Flat Earth Society, so Roger picked up on some of his rhetoric. Anyway, screening, such as a colonoscopy.
Screen these! Screen these!
Roger that, Roger. Moving on. Colonoscopies can detect early-stage colon or rectal cancer or even polyps, which are abnormal growths that can turn into cancer over time.
I'm a flat earth walker.
Come on, Roger. What did I do to my uncle to deserve you? You don't get to choose what you inherit, just like colon cancer. Unlike Roger here, I believe in science. And science says that if colon cancer runs in your family, you're more likely to develop it yourself. Talk to your doctor about when you should start screening. Find out more at coloncancercoalition.org. A message from the Colon Cancer Coalition.
These days, figuring out what, where, and how to watch TV is out of control. And so is the cost. That's why I'm psyched I found Philo. Live TV from A&E, Discovery, MTV, and all the channels I love. A huge library of movies and shows, and an unlimited DVR to save them. I also get AMC Plus and all their blockbuster hits. All this for just $28 a month when you sign up at philo.tv. Give it a try, risk-free at philo.tv.
Every success you've had began with a great opportunity. Now there's another one. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we provide no-cost digital resources in place of textbooks and most courses. And that's not all. You'll receive your accredited online education at an affordable tuition with a choice for more than 135 degree and certificate programs. With online and hybrid courses, get everything you need to succeed again. Learn more at umgc.edu, certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. It's time to play ball.
Swing and a miss and a slider, strike three.
Mariners Spring Training Baseball is brought to you by